What's going on, everyone? My name's Patrick and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be going over how I edit my photos from start to finish, and I'll also be linking the photos in the description so you guys can try it out. And I'm also going to be giving away a little preset of mine just so you guys can start doing photos like I take mine and how I edit mine. So let's stop talking and get into the editing. So today we're going to be editing two photos. The first one is a photo that I took outside of my car while I was driving. I just saw a really cool sunset in my town, so I thought it was pretty cool. And the second picture is one that my buddy Ben took. I'll put his Twitter in the description and also in the video somewhere, I don't know. But we'll figure out where it is. So previously for this photo, I've already made a preset just so I can show you guys what it's going to look like. We're going to get something similar to this, and then for this one I'm just going to edit from start to finish, and you guys can see the entire process that I go through while editing my photos. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start off with this one first. So one thing I really like to do with my photos is make sure that stop this, you need to go away. One thing I like to do is make the skies pretty vibrant. I like to keep the colors true to what they are. I like to keep it natural, but boost them a little bit. But first we got to get our exposure and our contrast set. So I think actually the exposure is pretty good where it's at. Contrast, I'm going to lower the contrast a little bit just so I can keep all this stuff here on the ground fairly open and noticeable. So first what I'm going to do, I like to mess with all these basic sliders here first. We'll mess with the highlights, see what I can do there. I like it a little bit right there, about 34, 35. Shadows, I like to... You can go either way with this. I'm going to keep it kind of where it's at, but again, just bring it up a little bit so you can see what's going on in the photo. Whites, I'm going to bring the whites down a little bit. I like to see the colors a little bit more. And blacks, we'll crush our blacks a little bit. I'm not going to mess with clarity, vibrance, and saturation too yet. I may bring the vibrance up just a little bit to get some more of those boosted colors, but other than that, nothing too crazy. When it comes to the tone curve, I really like to bring it up here so it's not as dark of a black. It's more of just like a faded look. And then I'm also just gonna bring these up. Honestly, I'm not really sure how to describe what I'm doing here, but I don't know. Usually just a really subtle little S curve will do the trick. That's what I use in most of my photos. So when it comes to color correcting here, I like to mess with my hues first. I'm going to keep it kind of, I don't know, I like this blue here a little bit, more of like a light blue teal, I guess. Instead of having this like a red, I may change it to, let's keep it like an orange. I like that. I think it looks pretty subtle. I don't want to change the saturation too much, otherwise things just start looking abnormal. I'm going to go to my luminance and see what else I could do here. The luminance is cool because it can really bring out the true colors of what's going on in the photo, so I'm going to keep that there. So yeah, you can see if you turn it too low on the orange, it makes it a little bit too phony, I guess. So we're going to do that. And already you can kind of see that we've brightened it up a little bit here in the foreground. The colors are a little bit boosted, changed a little bit. And I like it so far, but we're going to keep going. So what's next? I don't mess with the split toning too much. I may change it a little bit at the end, but other than that, nothing too crazy. I like to keep sharpening up a little bit. It just kind of, I don't know, it kind of just adds a little bit of a sharper effect, as the title would say. Next, noise reduction. I always bring it up to about 20. I don't know. It just makes everything a little bit less grainy. Sometimes, depending on what lenses you use, you can mess with lens corrections. I always remove the chromatic aberration. That just kind of takes care of any other noise that's in the photo. Distorting it, I may bring it up like that. Vignette, bring the vignette down. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Dehaze will also help you when you're taking photos of the sky. It'll really, this is obviously exaggerated, we're not going to do anything like this, but just to make it a little bit more colorful, you bring it up a little bit. Okay, so the next thing in my photos that I like to do is if I feel like something's interrupting the photo, like these cars here, Lightroom has a tool where it's like a spot removal tool pretty much, and it's kind of hard. I remember when I first edited this photo, I kind of took my time on it, but I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. So for this, we'll, dang it, Patrick messed up. Move this over a little bit. Okay, we'll take this back. We'll delete this point. Actually, we're just gonna bring it over here. Cover the car, excuse the loading. But it should get rid of the car right there. And again, it's not a perfect fix, but you zoom out, it fixes it a little bit. I'm gonna adjust it some more because I'm not too happy with that. Whoa! What happened? Undo that. Sorry, my computer's running kind of slow because of the screen recording, but we're going to mess with this one, and we're going to bring it down a little bit. I lied, we're going up. Again, you just got to find that perfect match where it'll line up well. It looks a little bit more realistic. Again, nobody's going to be really looking down here at the photo. They're going to be focusing more on this right here. So now we got one car taken care of. We're going to move on to the next. This one's a little bit more difficult because there's so many trees and just stuff going on right around it. But if you can work on it just as slow as possible, then you can really get a lot done. So just take your time. Don't be discouraged if things don't work out right away. The best way to learn how to use these tools is to keep messing around with them and figuring them out until they work. So the streets, I want the curb to line up a little bit more. So again, you just move it up a little bit, bring it down. That's better. So that kind of already takes care of half the car right there, which is nice. Oh, I lied. We gotta fix it still. Excuse me as I fix this. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, now we're gonna do another one on this side. Gonna take care of the car at the front. And we'll see what that can do. There we go. That's a little bit better. And maybe bring it up slightly. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna just do one more big one right here. And it's not gonna make it perfect. I'm not gonna be able to get every single detail of the car, but we're gonna go back in our settings and change things up so we can fix it and make it look a little bit better. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, see, it's not perfect, but it'll at least get us close enough to where the car isn't being a super big distraction in the photo. So again, it's not perfect, but if we really wanted to, we can take our shadows down a little bit and it's barely even noticeable. And again, focus is more on the sky here. I left the car just right here because it's kind of hard. I just didn't feel like editing that. But we're gonna go back now and mess with the sky. Now that I look at it, I kind of want the orange to be more of a pink. So we're gonna go to our hue over here and we'll mess with it to be a little bit more pink-ish. I'm gonna do that. It's a little bit better. Now, towards the end, I like to mess with clarity, see what it can do to bring stuff out. I think that looks pretty good. Again, not the best photo to work with. It was a little difficult, but This is something that I'd probably put on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. So here's your before and after. As you can see, we boosted the colors of the sky, changed the colors around a little bit. We used the spot removal tool, and we got rid of the cars, as you see here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is also a natural little plane that was flying by. I thought that was kind of cool. So moving on to the next photo. These are one of my presets that I'm gonna give to you guys in the description. I use this for most of my photos. I've sold these before, but I think I'll do a little freebie for you guys. So I think I'm gonna use this one. It's a little bit less clarity based. So once you apply that preset on, you can adjust how you want your photo to look. But again, today I'm gonna show you just doing it from scratch to see what we can do. First off, I'm gonna change the exposure. I'm gonna brighten it up a little bit. I don't think, sometimes messing with the temperature can really help your photo out a lot. I wouldn't make huge changes to it, otherwise it just doesn't look natural, but it still looks pretty good whenever you adjust it a little bit to get the look you want. I'm gonna bring in the contrast. I'm actually gonna leave the contrast alone for now. I don't think we really need to do anything with that. Highlights, I'm gonna bring my highlights down because I wanna see as much of what's going on in the photo as possible, and sometimes your highlights will just brighten everything and wash it out. Shadows, I'm gonna boost it up. I wanna see most of the subject. I wanna be able to see his legs and socks. Whites, again, I like to bring it up. For this photo, I like to make it a little bit more bright. What else? Blacks, I may bring it up a little bit. I may bring it down actually. I like to see the blacks crushed here. Tone curve, remember what we did with the other photo. We're just gonna do a little S. Nothing too crazy, but just something subtle. And not even changing colors too much other than the temperature. You can see the photo's just enhanced a lot on its own. I think it looks pretty good so far, but we'll keep moving in on it. So for hue, again, I like to change the sky. A lot of people like to make it like a super teal. I like to keep it more a little bit on the blue or cyan side. Cyan, I think that's how you pronounce it. But I'll make it a little bit more of like a blue, light blue. Luminance, I may bring the luminance down a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it down so you can see what's going on in the sky. Highlights, usually if you just kind of go through and scroll and see something that fits your photo, that's always a good idea to see what you can change around in the photo. I kind of like the tan look of the city. I don't want to make the city like a lighter wash that's a blue that matches with the sky. So just nothing too crazy. Put the saturation at 11 for that. I don't really mess with the shadows too much because there's a bunch of different colors going on. Sharpening, again, we just keep it up a little bit. Noise reduction, we'll bring that up a little bit. Removing chromatic aberration. We're gonna enable the profile corrections. This distortion is cool because it can sometimes add a little fisheye effect to your photo. Again, nothing crazy, but just subtle. So kind of change that around. I always bring the vignette down. It keeps it like a natural vignette. It's nothing too crazy. I never really touch this vignette down here because a lot of times people just go overboard. But the ones that you can do with lens corrections is really subtle and I like it. I'm gonna dehaze. I'm gonna bring it up just slightly, nothing too crazy. Sometimes it's fun to just go through the camera calibration and mess with the colors and see what you can change around. I like the photo being a little more, actually I don't want to mess with the shadows too much. Reds, this can change the skin tone a lot. I'm gonna keep it a little more on the red side. For your greens, there's not too many greens in this photo, so it won't change too much, but the blues, again, this will mess more with the sky. I don't want to mess with that too much because I don't want to overdo the sky and make it look too phony. I'm going to up the clarity just a little bit. You never want to mess with clarity too much. I know starting off as a photographer, I used way too much clarity, and it looks cool to some people, but to keep it a little bit more natural, you just add a little bit, makes it a little bit more crisp. I'll up the vibrance a little bit, and also I like to keep my photos pretty, if they're not going to be symmetrical, I want to keep them at least even. So I'm going to even out the city line, just makes it look a little bit more organized. So you can see here we went from a photo that was more yellow, not really exposed, to something that is, it's noticeable, the exposure is high enough to where you can see all the details in the photo. One thing I may mess with also is, you see his shoes here. Sometimes it just looks better to get a white, so I like, for some reason my brush isn't working on Lightroom right now, but you can always make it work with just doing a smaller little brush here. I don't want to change any of these settings all that much, but rather than making it yellow, see how it's kind of a yellow, you can drag it over to the blue side and it'll make it a little bit more white. That's not a perfect change, but it works. May keep that the same. We're gonna do whites. I may bring that up a little bit. Blacks up slightly, and then we'll fix it over the shoe. And again, it's just messing around with it, perfecting it as much as you can. You'll never really get a perfect look. Oh, see, I don't want to mess with this too much right now, but it is just another option that you can do. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed seeing how I edit my photos, and I hope you guys can apply them to yours as well. Also, just a little tip, if you're shooting on a DSLR, make sure you're shooting on a RAW setting. If you shoot in JPEG, you won't be able to change as many of these settings as you normally would be able to if you shoot RAW. Shooting RAW, it uses more colors, it has more pixels, and it just allows you to change your photo and edit it as much as you want. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something today, and remember to check out the link in the description for the free preset, and make sure to go check out my buddy Ben as well. He's an awesome photographer. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.
The magazine covers drenched in gold, the dreams of granny and mansion and happy, the little things I need to save my soul. And I know the money don't really make me whole. The magazine covers